Hey y'all, what's up? I'm back, and today's video is going to be me giving my review on Run Away With Me by Mila Gray. First of all, before I get into the actual review part of the video, I'm going to tell y'all this video is going to be split up into two separate parts, and the first part will be non-spoiler, and then afterwards I will be getting into my spoilery thoughts. Also, I'm sorry if I have really weird blotchy spots on me. I'm having an allergic reaction right now, and I'm pretty sure these are hives. So sorry about that. And so first of all, I would just like to tell y'all that this book is kind of a part of a series. I wouldn't say that it is, but that's what it says on Goodreads. Basically, Mila Gray's real name is Sarah Alderson. She has 3 books right now under the name of Mila Gray, and she has other books out under Sarah Alderson, but I think because this is like a romance series, she put it under pseudonym. And so the first book that she came out as Mila Gray is Come Back to Me, and I absolutely loved that book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It follows 2 main characters, Jessa and Kit. And then the second book that she came out with is Stay With Me, and we have our 2 main characters, and the female of this book is the best friend to the main character female in the first book, Come Back to Me. These first 2 are companion novels. But then this book is under the name Mila Gray, but it is also categorized as the Come Back to Me series. But this book has an entirely new cast of characters, new setting, new plot. It has nothing to do with the first 2 books, so I'm thinking maybe my theory is that she's going to maybe write a bunch of Mila Gray books, and they're going to be basically tied together 2 at a time maybe. I'm not really sure. From what it's going off right now, that's what I think. So you do not need to read the first 2 books in this series to read this book. It's just categorized like that on Goodreads. For this book, we follow our 2 main characters, Jake and Emerson. So you get points of views from both of them. These 2 have been best friends basically since forever, but then something happens to both of their families to where Jake has to leave. He has to leave where he lives at the age of 14 and basically abandons Emerson and just never talks to her again, but they're best friends, and she never knew what happened, and she's basically been holding a grudge and been super upset about it ever since. And then we flash forward 7 years later, and this is where Jake comes back to the town that he lived in when he was a kid, and Emerson's there, and it's them reconnecting and trying to get through the struggle and deal with their past. So we do not have like the first part of the book is them at 13 and 14. No, it switches perspectives. The first couple chapters could be about them in present day when they're 21 and 20, and then the next chapter is like a flashback of them at 13 and 14. And I really enjoyed that. I was thinking when I first got this book that we were gonna have to read all about them when they were younger, and then later on halfway through the book we would flash forward 7 years later, but no, you get the flashbacks throughout the story and you figure out what happened to both of their families and why he had to leave, and basically what has changed in both of them ever since they were kids and they didn't talk anymore. So overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think it's probably my least favorite out of the series. I gave the first book, Come Back to Me, a 5 out of 5 stars, and the second one, Stay With Me, a 4 out of 5 stars. There are, I think, 3 main reasons why I didn't like it as much as the other ones. I did enjoy this. I had a fun time reading it. I basically read it in a day and a half, and I was very invested in it because right when I see Mila Gray's books, I have to go and buy them because I like them a lot. It fills my heart with joy, like when I read her books, okay? And I'm total trash for it because the rest of her books have been just so amazing. So I picked it up, and at the beginning, I was totally hooked on it. I can maybe tell y'all 2 out of the 3 reasons why I didn't give that high rating like the other books. Number 1 is there are some punctuation mistakes in this book that I noticed. I am a very nitty-picky person. I noticed that kind of thing, so there were quotation marks missing at some points, like a sentence would start with a quotation mark. It was maybe like a sentence long, and there was a comma, and then it said he questioned that or he said that, but there was no end quotation mark before before the sentence ended. Many of those instances were present. There was also a time where I found instead of a comma, there was a quotation mark, which I don't remember what page it was on, but I specifically remember it. But I just kept finding some punctuation errors, which I don't know. I think if you're a published book, you shouldn't have punctuation errors. I'm sorry. And the second reason why I docked a star is a spoiler part, so I'm going to talk about in that spoiler section, but it kind of has to do with the errors physically in the book, like written out. There is some confusion with character names, and I will be getting into that in my spoiler section. And the third part is there were some things that I didn't really think were all that believable. Like, it is a fictional story. It is a contemporary though. But there are some sentences that I'm like, I don't think people would say that in real life. You know what I mean? Like that. Especially in the mature content parts. There is mature content in this book, in all of her books. And I normally love it. There was one time where I was just cringing in my seat because they talk about something and I don't like one of those words, and I just could never say that to someone ever. So it made me cringe for like a little portion of the book, and I wasn't comfortable reading that part. But normally, I'm fine with reading sexy times. I normally enjoy it. Like, it's fun to read about. I'm sorry. But there was one point in this book that I was like, So that is it for the non-spoiler section. If you have any questions about this book, if you have not read it yet, please let me know down below and I will be more than happy to answer some questions for you. So if you have not read this book, bye-bye. I will be getting into some spoilers right about now. Okay, spoilery people out there. So I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I liked their relationship. There were some points in the book where I thought their relationship kind of went too fast for me. But if you have a connection like that, I understand that could easily happen for someone. But for me personally, if I had a really close best friend and I hadn't seen them in 7 years, I don't think I would be able to be physically with them for a while. I would have to get to know them better first. It's been 7 years. There's probably a bunch I don't know about you, so why don't we get to know each other again? But they didn't really do that just because she spent most of her time avoiding him. And so they didn't really get to know each other all that well over again before they had sex. So, I don't know, that was kind of weird for me, but I understand that some people are like that. That was just for me personally. I did enjoy how this book ended. I was kind of nervous as to how he would get out of all of his problems. Like, he was arrested, he's convicted of, like, being a druggie and gonna be sent to prison, and maybe prison for life or prison for 5 years, and then school may kick him out and the team may kick him off, and like, it was just like so much all piled onto each other. I'm like, gosh darn, how much can this guy be convicted for all at once? Oh my gosh, now that I think about it, I don't think we ever find out what happened, like, to Emerson's dad. Like, I understand that he got diagnosed with MS, but I would have loved to see, like, how that process happened. Maybe we could have gotten a chapter of those then chapters back in time and maybe got a glimpse into what happened with him. I would have loved to read about that. At first, I didn't really know what happened to Emerson. I didn't really have a clue as to what happened in her past to make him basically run away or leave town. But once we got the chapter that ended with saying, oh, there's a guy in the locker room, I was like, she's about to be either raped or assaulted. Something's gonna happen, and sure enough, there you go. I feel like this situation felt genuine to me, and the feelings that Emerson were feeling and writing about, I totally thought was a great representation in how she used Rob as an access for her pain, basically used him to ease her pain and forget all about it. I hated Rob as a character, by the way. Completely hated him. I grew to like Reed. At first, when he started being nice to Emerson, I got really, really confused because towards the beginning of the book, you also have Reed older basically bullying her about her dad being in a wheelchair. And we have that glimpse of him getting out of his car and basically like bullying her because her dad is sick. And then he started being nice to her, and I'm like, okay, when you're a kid, I understand why you would be mean to a girl because you have a crush on her. But if you are older and in your 20s and you're still bullying this person because you have a crush on them, I don't think that's okay. You can't just go up to her and say, I had a crush on you, but then you also don't say, hey, I have a crush on you now. It bugged me a lot, but I was glad that he stepped up at the end of the novel and told the truth and gave her the letter, the note of what happened on that night. I thought it was really cute and sweet. So I grew to like him, but at the beginning I was very confused because he was being such a bully in his 20s. I mean, come on. Speaking of Rob and Reed, my third reason why I didn't enjoy this book as much as the other ones has to do with their characters. Not their characters specifically, but the names in the book. So there is one chapter in this book. If you have the hard copy, it is page 288. It's chaptered M. So this is the point where Rob has basically blackmailed Emerson into breaking up with Jake so that he could drop all charges against him and all this stuff. At this time, the last time we saw Reed was lying on the bar floor bleeding out from a concussion or a crack in his head or something. And we know he's okay, but he hasn't been present in this book since. And in this chapter, Emerson dumps Jake outside of the treehouse, and Rob is hiding in the treehouse to hear her to make sure that everything's going according to plan and she actually didn't like fake break up with him or whatever. And this is Rob, by the way, who's in the treehouse, her ex, Rob. And in this book, I will read it right now. Maybe I should have told Jake the truth all along, but I was worried that if I did tell him and we play acted a breakup, Reed would know it was fake. Reed wouldn't know it was fake. Jake is the world's worst actor. I was also afraid that Jake would do something stupid if he found out that Reed was threatening me again and jeopardizing his career even more. Reed, again. Reed hasn't been present since he got knocked out. He's not blackmailing her. It's Rob blackmailing her. Then it still goes on. I will explain. Jake will understand. Hopefully he'll laugh. We'll just pretend we've broken up. Reed won't find out, especially with Jake being away. And then once he's dropped the charges and the case is closed, it won't matter. Reed might like to think he's controlling me, but he isn't. This isn't Reed. Reed didn't blackmail her. Rob did. She mixed up their names. I don't know how that would happen and it be published. I'm sorry. And she also keeps doing it when Jake finally wakes up from sleeping for 4 days in the hospital. She's like saying like, oh, these people won't stop me from being with you. This person won't stop me being with you. And like lists people off and then says Reed Walsh. I'm like, do you mean Rob? Rob is the one telling you to break up with him. Reed didn't do anything. Someone didn't edit this chapter or didn't notice it, which I don't understand why. So yeah, that's why I did dock a star, just because that kind of made me upset. Like, you should know who your characters are, come on. Nevertheless though, I really enjoyed this book. I loved reading it. I basically almost read it all in one sitting, but again, I had to go to class. It is a Mila Gray book, so it got me sucked in. I read it so quickly, even though it is 300 something pages. I'm maybe thinking that the next book gonna be about Shay or something, because it's always like the best friend whose next book is about. That's what happened in the last two books. Prediction, Shay is going to be the next main character in the next book. Ooh, what if she and like Reed get together? What if that's a thing? I predicted it here, you guys. I predicted it. Even before this book came out, I don't even know if is there another one coming out? I don't even know if there's a synopsis for the other one. I thought it was well written at points. Again, there was that one point where I was like, oh my gosh. And I also wanted to say that I enjoyed the steamy times. I always like Mila Gray's steamy times. I'm sorry. The one part I was talking about in the non-spoilery section was, it's on page 219, and there's this sentence that both of them basically say to each other. That stuff just makes me cringe. Like, oh, I don't even want to, I'm not gonna say it because I don't like saying that. I don't. And I don't know how people could actually say that in real life. I'm sorry. I don't know how people could say that in real life. If you did enjoy this book, please let me know down below and what all your thoughts were. I would love to know and maybe learn more about this book or hear some new things. Also, I just wanted to say I love all of the covers for these books. They're absolutely gorgeous. Like look at how pretty these books are. Like, I love them. The spines are really cute too. I have the first one back home, so I don't have it with me, so I can't show you all three together. But I feel like it would be such a nice aesthetic to like have them all in a row. That was my review for Run Away With Me by Mila Gray. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, let me know down below if you have read this book, what your thoughts were on it, if you liked it, if you loved it, if you hated it. I would want to know your thoughts and opinions. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon with a new video. Bye!